Hello and welcome to another episode. This is our first official guest episode that we'll be releasing, and I chose Calli Tony as my first guest because without her, I probably wouldn't have launched this podcast. It's been in my head for quite a long time, years, and something always kept holding me back. It's the time, it's whatever. It's all these pieces, or I'm not good enough, or I don't have enough equipment, or I don't have a good background, whatever, all the dumb stuff that gets in our way. And I have been working with Calli for quite a few months now with business stuff. And once I closed my shop, I feel like things have just taken off. Calli and I did like an immersive business strategy session where we discussed what my goal in my life was and my business. And July was my goal month to start my podcast. And I was like, we'll see if it happens. And if it doesn't, it's okay. And it's July and my podcast is live. So it's just been really cool because Calli really takes the approach of aligning our life first and then fitting our business into it. And I absolutely love that. And that's part of our health and wellness. That's a way that we can um, slow down our nervous system, take more present moments, enjoy our life that we're living because we only have one life. And if we were talking on our call earlier about hustle, and like if you're hustling all the time, you don't get to enjoy those slow moments. So anyway, enough on my end of introduction. Calli, welcome, and please share with us a little bit about yourself, and we'll also dive into a little bit about your story and kind of how you've gotten to here. So
Cool. Thank you so much for having me in general, but as your first guest is like makes my heart so happy and grateful, and everything you said makes me like shine, and that's why I do what I do. So thank you so much. Um, like Emily said, I'm Calli. I'm a holistic life and business strategist. So I say a holistic life and business strategist because I look at everything as a whole. So it's not just your business. And like Emily said, we put life first. And it's not just your life and your business, it's the whole thing. It is your health and wellness. It is your mindset. It is your spirituality. It's everything included. And we work on that and work through that. And it was something that downloaded to me to have this kind of container where we work on everything because I had to work through the work of inner care and deeper care in order to have a business that I don't need a break from, that I don't want long hauls of time where I can't deal with it and I can't function with it and I need to take weeks off of it. And now I've co-created something that, and I always say co-created because it was gifted to me. And I always say that too. If it's gifted to you, you're the one meant to bring it to life. But like I've co-created something that I don't need a break from anymore and I don't get burnout from. And it's the best gift in the world and it fills my cup and lights my soul on fire. And I just adore doing it. So yeah, that's a little bit about that.
yeah, and I love because that's what we all want, right? Like we want this like dream life where we have time freedom and financial freedom and all these pieces, but then we're like hustling all the time and we're never getting there. And I definitely have seen an increase in revenue and income over the last 2 months because I have slowed down and I'm actually being present on social media when I'm feeling like you said, I often was very taking like hustling for like 2 weeks and then like I'm gone for a month. Like people would see me a little bit and then every once in a while people would message and be like, "Hey, are you okay?" "Yeah, I'm fine. I'm just living my life, struggling." So and that's an important piece of our wellness too, because if we aren't when we're in that hustle culture, something that came up on the wellness roundtable last night was that so many people are just in this constant state of survival mode, which is a constant activation of your flight or flight response. Stress is good. Stress and the whole production of stress is there for a reason. When you're like in a stressful situation, your blood flows to specific parts and you go. Like you handle the situation. But the way that so many of us are living our lives, and some of it is ourselves, some of it is society, and some of that is like we need to come away from society and just create our own reality and break away from that. And It's not going to happen overnight. It could take months, it could take years. But if you start working towards that alignment of the life that you want, we know all about energy here. So, like, the more that you are living in that aligned energy, the more is going to be attracted and magnetized to you because we're energetic beings. Um, so it's so fascinating to see how that also plays into just like our wellness and our well-being and being able to live that life. So, um, if you want to share a little bit of your story and kind of how you got here, whatever you're open to, whatever you don't want to share, don't share, but just kind of give people an insight to see like you weren't always living this way and
Not
and
at all.
this is a good thing now. So share some of your story.
Yeah, so it's funny you say that because I was in constant fight or flight mode for most of my adult life. So probably from 18 to 30, I was in constant fight or flight mode because I had trauma from not from my parents, but teenage trauma, um, and just factors in life. And I have symptoms of bipolar disorder and things that were out of my control and some was in my control. But it was a constant, it felt like a constant struggle. Every single day, I was always exhausted. And that's the best way I can explain it is I was so dang tired all the time. Um, but where my journey started into being into health and wellness and into entrepreneurship because I started out as a personal trainer. I actually started out as a group exercise instructor. And I went and got my little kickboxing certification. And because my mom had been like, well, you really like working out. Why don't you try it for a living? And I was like, no, if I do what I love for a living, I'll hate it. Because that's the mentality of this world, right? Like, that's the mentality that you can't do what you love for work because then you're going to end up despising it. And that is kind of a big portion of why I created and shifted into more business mentorship as a whole, because I want you to do what you love every day. But I love doing exercise. I really did. And it became such a passion of mine. I love being a personal trainer. I became a personal trainer about a year later. I had opened up a small little studio in my hometown when I was like 20 years old. And I was in the newspaper and I was so proud. And I thought I was successful. And that was my definition of success at the time. Um, was doing all the things that you have to do in order to be successful, right? Like get in the paper and make money and do these things and whatever. Um, but I ended up moving to New York City because I was like in hustle culture and I need better. I need better. I need more. And I always wanted to go to New York and I'm so happy I did. I don't regret any moment of it. But I had worked there as a personal trainer and a fitness manager. And then I came back home because I always come back home for some reason. I always come back home because I love it so much. I love the country. But it still was never enough. And I was never enough in myself because I wasn't living in alignment in all areas of my life. Not that I'm in perfect alignment right now, I'm definitely not, but I'm actively working towards it. But I constantly was going to the next best thing, like the next best apartment, even when I came home, the next best job or business opportunity or whatever it was. And it was never enough. And I was never fully full. And then I moved to Florida 2.5 years ago. I moved down to Florida. My parents had begged me for years to move to Florida. And I always thought I could outrun who I was until I went to Florida and I had the same exact lifestyle I was having in Pennsylvania. And I realized you cannot outrun who you are. You have to get comfortable with the person in the mirror in order to live a life that you're proud of and do things that you're proud of and say things that you're proud of and be the person that you say and that you want to be. Um, so when I was in Florida, I was living the same lifestyle for a long time and I was still doing my business part time and it was it was fun, but I wasn't fulfilled and I was doing health coaching and all the things and journaling every day and trying to work out and doing all the things, but I was still in that fight or flight mode where I was running, 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 running and getting nowhere until I slowed down and was like, this is not working. I need a different way. And I had this download. Someone actually said to me in one of the containers that I participate in, and she said, "When are you going to realize you're more than a health coach?" And I was like, "Oh, I am more than a health coach." Not that there's anything wrong with being a health coach, but I was like, I am more than a health coach. I have been talking about this messaging and living in a holistic life, in life and business for so long, and it felt so much better to me. It felt so aligned, and it felt like I was coming home to myself. So I did a lot of inner work. Like I said, I'm diagnosed with bipolar disorder, but I don't like to say I am bipolar. I like to say I have symptoms bipolar. And I think you agree with that too, Emily, and that way of thinking.
Absolutely.
Um, yeah, so I went for it was honestly, it was only back in November of last year. And it seems like such a short time and such a long time all at the same time. I had this download to like the spiritual awakening, and it was like my third spiritual awakening of my life that I have to do something different. And I think it's funny that we can get spiritual awakening so many times in our lives if we're just willing to be open enough to receive them. And I was just sitting there and I was like, I can't do this. I can't work 30 hours a week and do a business. I can't grow my business because I'm working 30 hours a week. I loved where I worked. I loved the people I worked with, but it felt icky to go. I physically could not get myself to get in the car and drive to work. I felt like I was going to puke. And there was nothing wrong with the job. It just wasn't aligned anymore. And I had made this commitment to myself to live in alignment in all the ways and trust God or spirit or universe or whatever you believe in, that I was gifted this path for a reason and this message for a reason and this idea for a reason. And I have to bring it to life. So I remember I was so mortified and so embarrassed. And I can't even believe I'm going to share this, but I was like, I can't come to work. Like I can't. It's not working out for me. And I know it's not working out for you either. And she was like, it's fine. I totally get it. Go and do you, go and be you. And it was also really nice because prior to that, my dad had given me permission to go and be me. And this was before he passed away. And I don't know what it was and why he did it, but he was like, Callie, go and do your business and nothing else and stop running. Just be. Be who you are and be proud of yourself and do the good work that you do every day. And he didn't understand it at all. He did not understand cards, Oracle cards, and my journaling and all this stuff, but he saw how much it lit me up and how happy it made me. And he wanted that for me. And he was so proud that I did it. Um, so I ended up moving from one town to another in Florida. And I said, I'm going to give myself 3 months to see if this works. And if it doesn't work, I'm going back to work. I'm going to go get a job. I had enough savings to sustain me for 3 months. And I was like, I'm going to go get a job and I'm giving up. But I knew something was going to be different this time because it was true messaging that was coming from inside of me and not what everyone else was saying was right to do and what the version of success should be. It was what I wanted. And I was doing the work for myself and getting really comfortable with myself and who I was and proud of myself. And that's the most important thing I can say to everybody is do what makes you proud every single day. Do the actions, the aligned actions that make you proud of who you are and who you want to be and for yourself, not for anybody else. Um, so it was 2 months in and I got my first big client and I was like, I don't have, it was like right 2.5 months in, right before 3 months was going to come up. And I had clients still from the past and I had some clients, but I was like, I needed a little more to sustain me, but I trusted that it was going to work out. I wasn't having that fear yet. I didn't let it come in, right? Like I didn't let ego get control. I kept leading with loving thoughts. It's going to work. It's going to work. It's going to work. It's working. It's already working. I've already received it. And I got my first big client and she had faith in me and trusted me. And I was like, I'm doing it. I'm doing it. And then I had created the group container prior to that and it just started flowing. Like everything started flowing. And it was 3 months and I didn't have to go back to work. And I'm really proud to say that I've been able to build a business that does put life first. And I've been able to co-create something that allowed me to move back to Pennsylvania, to go and visit Florida anytime I want. And I have been comfortable enough in myself to come home with myself. and with the space I'm in. So it's been a really cool journey and a lot of work, but the most worthy work and the easiest hard work I've ever done in my life.
I love that. And I love everything you just shared. I took some notes. Um, the first one that I'd like to touch on is that taking a chance and taking a risk. Like I just did a mastermind thing that was like a weekend long. And the one thing that really stuck out to me was like if you don't take the risk, you're gonna fail. So if you're afraid of failure, what's the point in not taking the risk? Because you're failing anyway. And I was like, well, crap. Like, that's right. Like, okay, so what? I show up on Facebook, I look like a retard, like whatever. It is what it is. It's not a word that we should say anymore. 20-year-old came in. Um, I looked, I feel like I look dumb, but who cares? Like, who cares? I'm still doing the work. I'm doing what I say that I want to do. And I love that you said that. Like being true, that's part of the four agreements. That one book, the four agreements, like being impeccable with your word and being who you say you want to be. And that was another whole piece of the mastermind was you can't, oh, what was it? It was do be do have be and be. So he was explaining how, so many people think that they have to do all this stuff to have all this stuff to be who they want to be. And he was like, you're doing it wrong. It's completely backwards. You have to be who you say you want to be. The things that you do will fall into place, and then you will have what you want to have or whatever the way it's supposed to be. But it really hit me in such a deep way. And I know that you teach this, and I kind of needed to hear it from him in his like verbiage to be like, holy crap, this is exactly what Calli's been teaching me like all these months is like, just be who you say you want to be. Because I took that time then to reflect and look at the last 10 years of my life because I've had some sort of business for 10 years, but I feel like I'm not any further ahead than where I started 10 years ago. I just keep changing things. And that's, a frustration with my husband. Like he's like, well, you say you want to do this and I'm letting you do all these things, but like, where's the money? Where's the whatever? And I'm like, well, and I always have an excuse. And I'm not going to say that they're not valid excuses. I was pregnant, I've had kids, life. But with this new model that I've been working on with you is like, okay, so you have 3 kids. How do you do your business around them? Do you do it during nap time? Do you have a sitter? Do you depend on play dates? Like there's so many ways to kind of shift the whole mindset, but that's what it takes is that mindset shift and start doing those things and being the person. So like I started asking myself like, all right, Emily, you want this big old house to have, space and a lot of opportunity to support and host people and gather people together and all these things. And you have this tiny little house and you feel like you can't. Okay, cool. But that person that has that big house that like has people over all the time, is she the person that you want to be? Are you being that person? Are you being empathetic towards people? Are you inviting one person over to your home? Or are you like, oh, my house is too small and there's not space for the kids to play? So I've had a few friends over in the last month that, they just come over for a few hours. The kids can play outside. Yeah, it's a tiny yard and they don't have really anything to do, but they don't care. They're together. That's all they care about. They have a kids' room where they can play with toys. And we have Legos and Play-Doh and like all these things that they can still entertain themselves with. Or we can pop in a movie and have a movie time. Like it's still doable. Like just invite that one person over. I could technically invite more. I've had more people in my home before. And so it's fascinating to really start shifting that mindset to be like, okay, just show up. Just ask people. The worst they can say is no. I mean, they could give me an insult if they want to, but like, okay, like whatever. Like you can move on from the insult. You can move on from the no. And I have such that perspective mindset of like, I always find myself tapping into like, okay, well, like, they said no. Well, they have a lot going on, that kind of a thing. And so I have that ability too, so that I don't take things as personal either. So I love that. I that taking a chance and just like I love that you have done that and you've done it over and over. And being able to see people like that encourages me to continue doing that. And I know that encourages other people. And so it's that ripple effect of like, hey, just keep doing what you're doing and keep trying and keep like we did a that gratitude journal in your group today. And the one thing I wrote was like, I'm so grateful that I have never given up, that I keep doing something, even though it's not necessarily exactly what's happening. Um, but this time, like you said, for yourself, it's different this time. I feel it being different this time too, because so many things have aligned that make it so cohesive to my life and my goals and my mission that like it's happening. So that was one thing. If you have any comments, feel free.
Um, I think it is a couple things. The real magic happens outside of our comfort zone. And I know our comfort zone is really comfortable. It's really comfortable and it's really safe and it's really secure. And we've created a space that in that comfort zone that probably protects us from the things that we hurt us in our lives in the past, right? But it's just like you said, if you don't try, you lose. You don't get it ever. If you're not trying, you're losing. If you're not trying to achieve your dreams, you can't achieve them. If you try, and I love our uh parallels of owning a physical location because I always thought the biggest dream that I could have was own a physical location and reach people in my town. And I loved it. I loved it. I loved what I did. But my mission was bigger than just that physical location. There's nothing wrong with the physical location. There was nothing wrong with what I was doing. It was beautiful. It was a wonderful experience. I learned so much. I got to meet the best people in the world. I get to experience the best things and have magic happen inside of those walls. But I expanded past physical location. And now I get to read, and I'm not saying to stop doing your whatever you're doing. I'm saying to chase your dreams and get out of your comfort zone and do the things that make you really freaking proud of yourself. Because when I got out of that physical location and I do what I do now, I was able to expand in ways that I didn't even know were possible at that time inside that location. And I just think it's a really cool thing to have an idea and then to go after the idea and be the idea. And another thing I wanted to say was it just popped back in my head. I was like, come on, come back, come back, come back. Um, when I started again, because I've started again many times, and I'm not ashamed to say that at all by any means. When I started again full time, I didn't have a big roster of clients. I had a few health coaching clients, and some of them were on scholarships and free, and some were paid, and it wasn't like paying the bills or anything. I just took a chance on myself, and I was like, I can do this. I can do this. Um, but I had my calendar full, like I was working with clients every day, and I teach that in my work. Make an aligned day, and then act as if it's already real, because it is, and that's what's going to manifest it to become real. Is like I scheduled my self-care work in the morning. I scheduled time with Annalise and she would go to school and I scheduled, okay, I have a client at this time, this time, this time, this time. I didn't have clients at those times because I didn't have a full roster of clients. And you know what I did? I worked on myself in those times. I worked on my website. I did back end self care work like journaling. I envisioned what it would be like to have those clients at that time. I felt into the feeling of having those clients. I went out and did the work. I asked personal asks. I put myself out on social media. I did my mentorship group that I was in. I did things that proved to me already that I had a successful business in my definition, in my terms of success, in my sweet spot, and I did it and it worked. And that really does work. So if you're starting out in on any journey, I'm not even just talking about business, but like if you want to get on a health and wellness journey, if you want to run a marathon, envision yourself already running that marathon. Feel how good it's going to feel to cross that finish line every single day and do things every day that work towards that goal and make you proud towards that goal. And they don't have to be long all day, every day. They can be 5 minutes. Go outside and walk for 5 minutes. And while you're walking for 5 minutes, envision yourself crossing that finish line with whatever clothes you're wearing, whoever's around you, feel it, smell it, see it, and really experience that feeling. And I promise you, reciprocate and bring that to you. You just have to do the the work behind it and really feel into the feelings of it.
That was one of the questions I was going to ask you about the where to start with that inner work, and that is so key, just really seeing and envisioning it. I know that my first wellness event that I hosted, I like felt into it and I felt into it, and like that day I like really was just like, wow, there's so many people here and this feels so good. And like I love gathering people and I love helping people connect and network and like learn new things, and it just felt so good. But I had done a lot of that inner work of like, what is this going to feel like, what's it going to look like. I had a cute dress that like worked really nicely for the event, and I still like whenever I do any type of vision work or different things like that, I will sometimes pull those pictures back up because like that was me and my like full alignment in like achieving my goals and my dreams, and I loved it. And so I love that you shared that. Um Let me see here.
Think, not to interrupt you while you're
Yeah.
thinking, but it's super important to feel the feelings of like, I remember the first time I ever got a personal training client in New York City. I jumped up, I couldn't scream because the break room was right off of the main lobby of the gym. But I jumped up on a bench in our little tiny break room and was freaking out and dancing and waving my arms. And I was putting it on the board that I got my first client. And I felt that feeling every single day until I got another client. And then I felt that feeling every single day until I got my third client. And I became a master trainer, which means you have to have so many clients and so many continuing education credits in the shortest time. I did it the fastest in that entire gym and the shortest time that you could possibly do it, because I felt that feeling every day. And it was the same thing for Wellness on the Yacht. Me and Emily had this idea and we had no clue how we were going to make it happen. We just knew we wanted to do it and we felt the feeling of doing it every day. And I tell you, when I had that first event and the second event and the third event, and I can't remember if there was a fourth one. I think there was only three, but I'm thinking there was four now. There were four. Um, I felt the feeling of that day before the event ever came. And when I felt it, it was again like coming home because I had felt it so many times before. And the same thing when I had that TV show. And I'm telling you these things because these were like dreams of mine to have this stuff. And this was like my aligned, I was living my dream. I'm living my dream now. It just looks different. Um, and at that time, it was my dream. And I remember when I wanted to have a show on the local programming show. And it's so funny. My mom always told me growing up, you're going to be on TV one day. Well, I was on TV one day. It might have only been in Fayette County, but I was still on TV one day. It might have been in Butler County too, actually, but whatever. Um, but I felt when I went into that meeting with that producer, I felt the feeling of having the show beforehand, and he fell in love with the idea so much because I was so in love with it. And I believed in it so hard, and I felt into it so he could feel it. And then I got the show. And then it lasted for a long time on that network. Um, and I got to do other shows and interview really cool people like Uncle Si and Gabby Barrett, which I never would have imagined ever interviewing people like that. Um, so it was just like, it's like if you just can feel the feeling before it happens, it's gonna happen. Because again, it was gifted to you. It's gonna happen.
Right. I absolutely love that. The other note I wanted to take, especially from that, like you gave yourself a time limit. You're like, all right, 3 months. And if it doesn't happen, I mean, again, what's the worst that can happen? You go back to work. Like that's always an option. I loved the thing that you shared yesterday. It was like when people ask, like, well, what happens if your business doesn't work? You're like, well, work till I'm 65, like you're gonna do. Like it's literally but you're taking chances and you're living your life the way that you want to. And like it is what it is. Like, and so many people, think that like having that full-time job or whatever, like is just this is the end all be all. Well, like you can actually transform your life to whatever you want. And if that's what you want, like I do have people that are like, you know what? I prefer working 9 to 5 and shutting down and not having to do all this admin, back end work and all that. Great. That's awesome. Look for the job that aligns with you. Stop getting into these jobs where you actually like hate your life. I do feel that since 2020, so many people have shifted because they got to experience that time with their family. And yeah, it might have been a little stressful, but those people that like never had that, but that were like forced to stay home, and like that was always their dream to stay home, or whatever, they got to experience that. And then whenever things came back online, like it was like, oh, I would just want to homeschool my kids, and like that was fun. And so many people are now homeschooling their kids, and also having full-time jobs, or they have like quit their job or found a different way to do their job, or have completely gotten a new job, started a business, all the things. But I back to the 3 months, having that timeline. And I love that you, like you said, you had to stick with that for those months. I'm going to keep doing this, and it's this date that I can give in. Like, it's this date that I can give in. But right now is not that date. I'm going to keep moving forward towards my goal. And that last second wins is what I wrote down, because that's so often what happens. It's like that test of like, are you true? Are you truly going to push through this? And I've been kind of experiencing some of that too, of that, like, okay, are you committed? Are you going to do this? Are you going to do this long term? And I also like how you talk about having symptoms of an illness, not claiming it. So I have symptoms of ADHD. And so I've been very good at like starting something and not doing the follow through. And I'm starting to shift that, because I'm like, no, that's not who I want to be. I'm still going to utilize the symptoms of ADHD to their highest that I can, and understand how my brain functions, so that I can get more committed, that I can have more of a consistent structure. If I need to just have these short little, like, oh, hey, I did a call this morning, now I'm doing this podcast, and then I have a break, and then I have a client later, great. If I have a couple days where, you know what, I'm just doing my broadcasts in the morning and then fitting in work where I can, that's also okay. It doesn't have to be this solid structure. And so I love that last second wins piece was good. Um, and then I had a note about doing that deep work, being who you want to be. And it, another comment you had said, and I think as a society, we have like it's just been ingrained in us. I know somebody that did not go after what she wanted to do in her life because she didn't want to hate the work that she loved to do. And the thing that's cool when you're creating your own business around something that you love, and why I would like working with you, is you get to create your work and your business around it. You don't have to let it take over to the point where you hate it. You get to enjoy it. You get to do it. Like, you're like, and there's the get. I know that's what you're pulling on. So go ahead. I'll let you take over again.
That's the thing, is that we get to do it. Like, it's not, I write in my, and I did it for a long time. I wrote to-dos, and I shifted it to get to dos, because I get to do this every day. It is such a gift. And I know I use that word a lot, but I feel so gifted that I get to do this stuff every single day. I get to do my inner care work. I get to spend time with my daughter. I get to clean the house because I have a house to live in. I get to make dinner because I have food in my fridge. I get to go for a walk because I have this beautiful area to walk in. I get to do all this. I get to work with these amazing clients, and I get to share my messaging with them. And the authenticity of who I am, I get to do all that. And if you can shift it from I have to do this to I get to do this, it truly shifts everything. And like the whole outlook on your day is different. Because if you wake up and I'm like, oh, I have, look at the difference. I'll say it in the same exact tone. I have to go to work today, and I have to take my kid to daycare, and I have to take her to dance. Okay. I get to go to work today. I get to take her to daycare, and I get to take her to dance. I didn't change my inflection in my voice. It just sounds so much different. And it feels so much better in my body. It's almost like automatically I just changed my inflection even though I'm not trying to.
Yeah, and it comes from more of like a place of, it truly sounds like a shift into gratitude. Like, I get to,
Mhm.
like, this is something I get to live my life today. And this is how it's gonna look today. And it can be the Monday, and it can be that I get to do dishes. Well, I have dishes to do. Like, that means I fed my kids. And um yeah, I love that whole aspect. I love seeing your get to do's whenever you share those on your story. Because then it helps remind me, hey, you get to do this today. It's not that you have to, it's that you get to. And it really reframes. It's a quick mind reframe, which is really
Really
helpful.
funny. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I have to
No,
tell you
you're
the
good.
story. So I have an ex-husband, right? And he used to put his socks next to the basket, the dirty laundry basket, all the time. And then later in life, I thought I would get so pissed. I would get so angry at him for putting the it's right there, put it in the basket. I don't want to bend over and pick up your dirty socks that stink. Put it in the basket. I already do the laundry. Years later, when I shifted my mindset to more of a get to do kind of thing and grateful for things, and I realized, oh my God, I would, this sounds so stupid, but I would love to have a life where I put his socks in the basket. Like my life, I was such a struggle for so long and so hard for so long. And I wish at that moment that I could just go back to putting his socks in the basket because it really wasn't that big of a deal. And it was nice that I can do that for him. And it was nice that he did things for me. And like I got to do that. And I know that sounds so stupid and so minuscule, but it was just thoughts like that. And I would think about making him sandwiches for lunch. I remember when I was younger, I think if I have to make him a sandwich for lunch every day for the rest of my life, sorry, I'm gonna freaking cry. Um, and then later in life, I was like, I would do anything just to make him a sandwich. It's just really weird how you
Yeah,
shift as
yeah.
you and grow.
Hmm. Absolutely. I love that. Um, do you have any other comments at this point?
Um, I don't particularly have any other comments besides
Okay.
I'm really proud of you for doing this and for taking a chance on yourself. And if anybody takes anything from this, to please, please, please do the same
Hmm.
because you're so worth it. And like I just made a story before we got on here about that because we are so worth having the things and feeling the way that we want to feel every day and have the things that we want to have every day. We are so worth it. And it's okay if your dream is the big house and the cars by the beach and or in the mountains or whatever. It's also okay if it's a small house with a car that's reliable. It's just okay. No matter what your dreams are, they're perfectly perfect for you
Hmm.
and they're okay. And I just want you to go after them, no matter what they are, no matter how small they may seem, because really to you, they're big, or no
Right.
matter how big they seem. Just go after it. Just love it and love your life because we get one. My dad taught me so many things, but we get one chance in life. It's so dang short and just live it the way you want to live it, doing the things you love doing the most because tomorrow is not promised.
Yeah, I love that. Um, one like sort of question just to bring it back towards wellness in a sense. Um, by living our life in alignment, just in alignment in general, whether you have a business or not, whether you have a 9 to 5, just creating that more of aligned life. What impact do you think that has on our health?
Everything, everything, because when we're doing things that when we don't, okay, for instance, sorry, mom, but I'm gonna throw you on the bus. My mom today told me she has to go and visit someone because she promised them she would do it. And when she promised it, she knew she didn't want to do it in her head. She didn't want to drive that far. It's not anything to do with them. She just didn't want to drive that far. And when you're living in alignment, you only do when you can, because I know sometimes we have to do stuff that we don't particularly want to do, like if our kid has dance class or something. You do stuff that's a full body hell yes, more than not. And when you're living out of alignment, you do things that you don't want to do more often. And you say yes when you mean to say no and when you want to say no. And that hurts our health physically, mentally, spiritually, and emotionally. When we're living in alignment, we have more time to do the things we want to do for ourselves. We have more time to work out, to eat the foods that make us feel really good, to practice our spiritual work and our mental health work. Um, we want to do those things more because we feel worthy of doing them. So living in alignment really starts with, again, doing the things that you say you want to do and being proud of the person that you say you want to be and doing that. And it all intertwines and ties into each other because once we live in alignment and set those boundaries with ourselves and with others and do only what is a full body hell yes, we get to do more of what we love. And it makes our health so much better. My health is the best it's been in my life, and I'm heavier, not than I've ever been, but I'm heavier than I was when I was 145 or whatever, when I thought I was in great shape and like this and that. And I was eating really healthy of what I thought at the time and all this stuff. Because you know that shifts over time. And as you age, it shifts and the diets change and whatever. I'm healthier now and I feel better now in my life and in my body than I've ever felt at any weight or eating anything else or whatever it was or working out more, this or that. So it has everything to do with everything else. It's a holistic thing.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that because yeah, but it's just it's all intertwined. It's all affecting you. It's affecting your stress levels, all of those things. And yeah, I had a whole thought and it disappeared. But everything you said, spot on. Spot on.
I love what you do so much because you work with energy and energy is everything. It's the main focus of at least my work and myself. I'm not going to talk about business because it's a huge factor in my business too, but in my work and myself is energy and having that be the forefront of your focus of how you want to feel every day and the energetics of what you want to work on and the way that you send me frequencies and things like that is so important. And I don't know what it would have been like if I hadn't done the energetic work and you hadn't been sending me the frequencies when my dad died. Because I got through that. No one expected me to get through that the way I got through that. My mom didn't, my family didn't, my friends didn't. They thought I was going to crash and burn and go back to who I used to be. And I didn't. And I attribute that so much to what you do for me and what I do for myself energetically. And I just want to say how important that is in the process and really getting into that first, think would be a really good starting place
Yeah.
and a main priority.
Yeah, definitely. Because that everything is frequency, everything is energy. And if we can influence that and it makes other things a lot easier and smoother. So thank you for mentioning that.
Yeah.
But yes. Um, so we'll go ahead and wrap up. It's been about 45 minutes. So share what you did share a little bit about your business. If you want to share anything extra about your business, anything new coming up, and how can people get in touch with you?
Cool. So I have two different ways to work with me. I have the group container Authentic Alignment Business Accelerator, and I have Rise Up, which is my one-on-one business mentorship, which you get Authentic Alignment Business Accelerator included in that. So you get the community aspect, which I love so much, and you get the more one-on-one support. So you can work with me in either of those containers. You can find it at my website. Just go to callitony.com. Or you can just message me on Instagram. It's Calli Tony _ and I'll message you back. Probably right away because I love Instagram so much because I created such a safe space around it. I'm on it frequently because it makes me happy and gives me life. Um, but yeah, I don't know when this episode's going to come out, but we have our business immersion next weekend. So it might be too late for that, but there'll probably be another one in the future.
No, so this one will be coming out on Monday. So in like exactly a week. So yeah, if you're listening to this week of this launch, so before the end of July, yeah, they could definitely pop
Okay,
in.
cool. Yeah, so Authentic Alignment, the business immersion is happening on the 26th and the 27th, but the 26th is specifically only for the girls in Authentic Alignment Business Accelerator. It's like a VIP night, and then the following day I'm opening up to 5 other women. One spot is gone, but there's still 4 left, so it's pretty cool. But yeah, if you want to look at that, you can go to my website and look at it, or you can message me on Instagram again. I'll get right back to you, or you can email me. It's Calli at callitony.com. So I really like my name apparently, because I name everything my name. But
Good
yeah,
branding.
so yeah, right. Yeah, just if you want to check that out, it's going to be a really cool event with really amazing women that are really into helping other women grow. And that's why I love what I've co-created because I get to work with women that really want to see other people's success, like comments in the chat, so proud of you, way to go, or talking to each other on the calls. It's not like I'm not sitting there leading the entire thing, and like you guys are in it so much too. And you're helping so much and growing so much together with me. And it's the coolest thing ever. But if you're interested in any of that, let me know.
Sounds good. Yeah, I'll make sure everything is linked um, on the places that I post this, and so they can access
Wait.
everything easy. Thank you all so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time.